Hi, my name is Irr Dagle, and I'm with the Irr Dagle Foundation and Brian's Healing Hearts Center for Hope and Healing in Niantic. At the Irr Dagle Foundation, we are anchored in hope and empowered to support, and we are dedicated to help those who are grieving the loss of a loved one, as well as helping our community and educate them on suicide loss and prevention. And I thank you for being here. Today's introduction is just very brief to start a conversation on suicide prevention and awareness for parents. But please let me begin by saying that this presentation is not related in any way to the COVID-19 situation that is going on today in our world. It is just an opportunity, given that a lot of us have downtime, to talk about this very important subject. So as I begin, I like to give resources right up front and numbers that you should have available to you. Our first one is our Connecticut United Way 211 number. We have the suicide prevention hotline number, 1-800-273-8255. We have our text crisis hotline number as well. You simply text home to 741-741, and somebody will be on the other end and answer your text. I also included the Norwich Youth and Family Services number, 860-823-3783. And my information, Irr Dagle with the Irr Dagle Foundation. Our number here is 860-451-8354, and I've included my email address as well. And finally, I have the AFSP Connecticut. AFSP is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and that is where I got a lot of our resources for today's program. You can go on to their website on our Connecticut chapter, but also for our national organization at afsp.org. So today we're going to discuss some risk factors that are associated with suicide, some warning signs, how you want to start that conversation, and to keep that conversation going. So let me begin by saying there is no one single cause for suicide. Suicide most often occurs when the stressors and health issues converge to create an experience of complete hopelessness and despair. Depression is the most common condition associated with suicide, and it is often undiagnosed and many times untreated. Conditions like depression, anxiety, and substance problems, especially when going unaddressed, do increase the risk for suicide. Yet it's really important to note that most people who actively manage their mental health conditions go on to engage in a very healthy lifestyle. I also want to say one myth that many people used to believe, that if you talk about suicide, you're going to cause somebody to think about suicide, when that is just not true. Talking about suicide, especially with somebody who is suicidal, often brings us a sign of relief for them, that somebody is willing to listen and care and have this conversation with them. So talking about suicide will not cause somebody to think about suicide. Risk factors that are associated with suicide: health issues. As I said, mental health issues can cause somebody to be at risk. Serious physical health conditions, extreme physical pain, or traumatic brain injury. Environmental factors. What is going on in someone's life? Perhaps somebody has had prolonged stressful events, family changes, maybe a relationship has been lost, maybe a marriage has broken up, maybe somebody has moved away, or somebody has died. Perhaps it's financial problems. Somebody may have received a rejection, whether it's a job rejection, a college rejection, not getting on a team, not being involved in a theater production. All of these things, especially in times of transition, can cause somebody to be more at risk. Access to lethal means, which includes firearms and/or drugs. Previous suicide attempts. Perhaps somebody had a family history of suicide. Childhood trauma and/or abuse. So let me finish by saying, with risk factors, there is no one single cause of suicide. It is usually a convergence of all kinds of factors that come together. Many times I call it a perfect storm that brings somebody to get to this point in their life. Suicide warning signs. So these are things we want to look out for. Something to look out for when there are concerns that a person may be struggling with their mental health or perhaps suicidal. Any change in behavior or the presence of entirely new behaviors. Be aware if the new or changed behavior is related to a painful loss or a life change. Most people who take their lives exhibit one or more warning signs, either through what they say or how they act or what they do. So these are warning signs that we really want to look at when somebody, what are they saying? How are they acting? And what is their mood like? So when they're talking, do they say things like, I have no reason to live? You'd be better off without me anyways. Feelings of hopelessness. Do they talk specifically about killing themselves? Behaviors, how are they acting? Are they isolating from friends, family? Do they have increased drug or alcohol use? How is their appearance? Perhaps they used to take pride in how they looked and their appearance, and now they just really don't care at all. And their mood, what is their disposition? Do they fly off the handle very easily? Are they anxious? Are they depressed? Have they a loss of interest? Are they ashamed about something that happened in their life? Are they very irritable? So once again, I will say with suicide signs, it is not just one sign. It's a lot of signs that we want to look for. Sometimes we have to read between the lines and really question ourselves. So a teenager, as I understand and I know from teenagers, that sometimes they do exhibit some of these behaviors. But I think we have to take all changes in a behavior seriously and really start this conversation with them. So how do you start this conversation? So I would suggest that you treat mental health the same as your physical health. And when you're talking to your child, explain that to them. Say that their brain is an organ, no different than any other organ in their body, whether it's their heart or any other organ, and it should be treated as the same. This discussion really is no different than talking about sex or drugs or a conversation that you would have to keep your child safe. We don't want our child out there drinking and driving or taking drugs. So we don't want to take chances with them with their mental health as well. I would recommend that you have plenty of time to talk. This is a really important conversation. You don't want to do it as you're running in and out of meetings or running to different sporting events. You want to make sure you have enough time. And be willing to share. You know, perhaps you, when you were at their age, struggled with some times of depression, struggled with some challenges in life. Be willing to share that with them. Say, you know what, if all this was happening to me, I'd be really upset too. I'd be really struggling with what's going on in my world. And of course, have no judgment with them. Listen to them intently. And you're not here right now at this point to fix it or to solve a problem. You're here just to listen and to simply validate their feelings and let them know that yes, whatever you're feeling, it's okay right now because we're going to work on this together. If you do have really feelings to be concerned about, then show that you're concerned. Express that you want to care, that you do care, and show your support. Tell them, I care about you. Let me help you. And have some resources available. Have a name of a therapist that you could refer them to or go with them to the therapist. Perhaps it's somebody in school. Perhaps it's a coach, it's a counselor that they'd be willing to talk to. Perhaps somebody in the faith community. So have some resources available too. So this is a very difficult conversation, but again, it should be treated no differently like any other conversation that you would have with your child about challenges in life. And finally, how do we keep this conversation going? Well, you always want to follow up with them. Right? Perhaps they were willing to get some help from a therapist or talk to somebody. So you can have that conversation with them saying, yeah, I'm really proud of you for getting the help to get you through this challenging time. How is that going? You appear to be doing better, but really, how are you doing? And show again that you care. Always thank them for opening up because it takes a lot of strength and courage to open up, especially to a parent or to a therapist. So tell them how proud you are of them and that you really appreciate them doing this. And then for more information as a parent And even as students, you can take this one step further. There's a lot of trainings out there on suicide prevention that goes way more into detail than I did today. Today, I just touched upon some subjects that you could have to begin to have this conversation. So there are several different programs out there. I've listed a few. QPR, which is like a 90-minute presentation, and it's a evidence-based presentation on suicide prevention. Talk Saves Lives is through the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We're now doing those virtually, so that could be an option for you as well. And the More Than Sad also being done virtually. More Than Sad would be geared toward your student. So if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or email me at the Irr Dagle Foundation. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this very difficult conversation. But we know in our world, especially with our young adults, our students, how challenging life can be. So thank you, and I thank Norwich Youth and Family Services for helping me do this.